Rusty.
Hey, good throw.
Hey, how about those Cubs, man?
Oh, that was a fantastic World Series. Loved it.
It's probably the best game I've ever seen. That was
Hey guys, we got work to do. I can't believe it's the holiday season. We're out here able to do this without our coats.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is great. Hey, by the way, look at these bulbs. These are hue lights, and you can plug them in, and they're red, green, yellow. You can change them with your phone.
That's fantastic. What are those things running?
These run about $200 for a package of 3.
That's good.
That's not bad at all.
That's awesome. Okay.
Well, we have so many lights to get
Not
done.
this.
Yeah.
This is like Christmas vacation. We
Oh,
can't
come on.
this.
We'll take this.
What do we do instead?
Here.
Hey, by the way, guys, you know what Thomas Edison, lights, and baseball have in common?
Actually, I know the answer to this one. It's actually Fort Wayne, Indiana is the common denominator of all of those. Thomas Edison actually lived here for a while, and baseball, we had the first lit baseball game was actually right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Sir, did you know where Thomas Edison worked? He worked at Jenny Electric, which was the predecessor of General Electric. They're the ones that originated 2 rods, a massively large arc that would connect and light up. That's where the first lit baseball game came from, and it was played down at Headwaters Park downtown.
And you know, with that, we also had the first lit city in the United States up in Wabash, Indiana.
Sure.
With that same concept.
And guess what started all this was Benjamin Franklin. Electricity, he discovered it in 1752, and he put it on a key and a kite.
Right, his son helped him. I think his son actually held the kite while Ben measured the electricity.
I would never trust you and I to even begin to do. You would let go of that.
Good idea.
Well, thank you.
Man, we still got a
We
lot
you
of
better
this.
put
All
this
right, let's
light.
put another one in.
You're working on my curve here.
All right, let me see it.
Oh! That is going to leave a well. Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Boy, it's gonna get quiet around here today.
This is a lot of work. I'm done. This is
Bags are hard.
Yeah, they are rough.
Hey, you know what, guys? We got to get started.
Yeah, hey, welcome to Between the Studs. I'm Lonnie Norris, and this is part of the Granite Ridge Builders team, including Tony Ranke, our president. We're glad you've joined us today. You know, we enjoy talking about what we do, building custom homes in one of our neighborhoods or yours. We build in northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and also parts of southern Michigan. And each week, we enjoy coming into your home and talking about what we do. Today's going to be a fun show, I think.
This is really going to be. Speaking of electricity and also all the lights we just did, let's continue the process on electricity. Now, you guys think it's that important that we have electricity to houses?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
See, some people think they can't live without it. Think about it. What could you live, or how could you live without electricity?
No hairdryer?
Oh, absolutely.
How would I get up in the morning? I have to have my alarm clock that goes off for me.
Entertainment devices, and office equipment like my iPad.
Cell
What do I do?
phones. I mean, we use a lot of electricity just on our cell phones charging up.
Heck, even for me, again, I microwave my breakfast every morning, a couple drinks in the afternoon.
It's because you can't cook. That's part of it.
I don't even buy a paper book anymore. I read it on my Nook.
That's really true. So electricity really is very, very
Critical.
important.
Critical.
So here's what we do. Why don't we talk a little bit about how important it is? What subjects on electricity do you think the audience would love to know about?
Well, I think finished products, your finished lighting inside and outside, ceiling fans, that's exciting.
I like to go between the studs. I'd like to talk about what kind of wire we use, what size, and how much.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we could talk about like light switches and outlets, where they place them, and possibly even like motion detectors, some of the fun technology items.
Yeah.
And we may need to even get into like what is a watt and ohm, all the different charges that
go back to the
with
basics.
the basics.
Back to the
of
basics,
everything.
Yeah.
And I think just the overall importance of electricity, because the average person probably uses between $2,000 to $3,000 a year in electricity.
Per person.
Per person.
So it really is that important. And I think we should go back to the basics like Tony said. And Lonnie, I think you know a little bit about where we actually generate the first part of our electricity from, true?
Let's talk about it today.
Why don't you start it out with your segment, and the rest of us all go talk about what we just said. All right? I think this will be a fun little thing.
Hey, as long as I don't have to hang any more Christmas lights.
Ho, ho, ho.
Don't forget your microwave.
Well, Dave, when we talk about electricity, we have to talk about the resources that actually create the electricity.
Well, what are those resources, Lonnie?
It could be nuclear, it could be wind or solar, it could be gas or oil, or in our area primarily we use coal.
How do we use coal for electricity then?
Well, it begins at a power plant where coal is actually pulverized, turned into a powder. We heat that powder in this big boiler. The boiler is full of water and steam is created, and it moves this turbine. And the turbine creates energy. When you have movement, you have energy, mechanical energy, and that energy is turned into electricity or electrical energy.
From the plant, it goes to actually to a substation, and that substation is considerably bigger than what we're standing right here.
A bunch of these and a lot bigger, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Then that converts that over to the power lines and actually the power tower type.
And by the way, speaking of those towers, they're coming out with all kinds of creative, interesting figures as it relates to towers, like Mickey Mouse. I saw one look like Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse
a stick figure.
Yes,
Yeah, it's pretty
awesome.
Cool. It's pretty cool.
So then it takes that from the power lines back to another like neighborhood transformer.
Okay.
Which will reduce then that power current to get into the house.
And Dave, speaking of these transformers, sometimes they set them in the backyard, sometimes in the front yard. Today, they're more apt to set them in the front yard for service purposes. But generally, as you said, 6 to 8 homes. And here's a stud tip. If your home is very close to one of these, there's a good chance that you're receiving more than 120 volts. And you may need to buy a light bulb that's actually 130 volts. It won't pop as often. Or just move to LED lights and resolve that problem.
Great tip, Lonnie. Thank you.
Okay, now let's move from the transformer, Dave. The line's been buried to the garage or to the basement where the box is.
Lonnie, you and Dave were talking a lot about how to get the power from the coal plant here into the neighborhood.
Right.
Now we got to the neighborhood, now we're bringing it into the houses.
Right. This is a circuit breaker box. It is a 200 amp box. And typically in a new home, we're going to put this in the garage or in the basement.
Now, is there a big preference on which way you should do that?
Not necessarily, but you have to think about this. If you do lose power, where do you prefer to go? Out in the garage to flip something back on or off, or into the basement?
That's a good point.
This is a 208 amp box, and as we said, we call it a breaker box because if a circuit, and by the way, there's usually 30 circuits in this size box, if you would lose power someplace in the house, overload for example, these little circuits are going to trip.
Okay.
And a lot of times you're going to have to come out to the box and flip it back on. It's particularly in your kitchens and in your bathrooms.
Now, it used to be that they actually had circuits in here, like 60 amp circuits or things like that would literally break.
Right, I remember that day very, very well. We called it 60 amp service, and we had actually fuses in a box much smaller than this. Mm-hmm. And there was a little metal thing in those fuses that acted as the breaker, and it would burn up basically and turn off the power in the house when it was overloaded. So what we did was, don't tell anybody.
And don't try this at home.
And don't try this. So we would sometimes put pennies in those fuses, and that would allow the thing to work, and we'd probably create a lot of fires and unsafe situations doing that.
You know, speaking of fires, Ben Franklin, who actually was the inventor, as they say, of electricity, also found a way that he could actually save thousands of homes as well.
Right, Tony. He was actually the inventor of what we call the lightning rod, which we still use that principle today.
Now, how do we put that into our homes today?
Today, it's what we call a UFR rod, and we actually ground the homes. If electricity hits near or in the home, it's going to ground flip things off, and also send that surge of power down into the ground where it becomes dormant.
Another way Ben Franklin changed our lives.
Sure did.
Well, we've been talking about electricity, how we get electricity to the home, how we wire the home for your switches, your outlets, and also your lighting. And we've even mentioned that Wabash, Indiana was the first electrically lit city. So now we've actually come out here to Wabash Electric, located in Fort Wayne. We're really excited to show you some of the products that go into our homes: interior lighting, exterior lighting, things such as LED.
We're here with Stephanie here at the Lighting Center. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about Wabash Electric.
Welcome to our over 5,000 square foot showroom here in Fort Wayne. We also have locations in South Bend, Elkhart, and Warsaw. We are here in all branches to assist with any electrical and lighting needs.
Well, this looks beautiful and like a lot of fun. So I think Jenny and I are just going to take over, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
Go check out some of these new fixtures.
Have at it.
Let's go. Did you bring your wallet? Jen Nelson is one of our decorators and designers, and she works with hundreds of clients, helping them with their needs for inside the home. Now, when it comes to lighting, what are some of the tips or some of the common questions that you get?
Well, a good thing is to do a little research on your own. Look at, get online, check out Houzz, Pinterest, get an idea of what you like. Get a vibe for the feel that you're going for your space. Because then when you come into a place like Wabash Electric here with all of their wonderful lighting fixtures, you don't feel like a deer in the headlights. You can kind of narrow down the scope of what you're looking for.
Now, I know one question is finishes. Can you mix your finishes within a home?
You can, and they're always going to be someone that's a purist that wants to keep their finishes to match, but just know that that's not really relevant anymore. We are mixing quite a few finishes, your chromes with your stainless steel, you can mix black with a lot of different shiny finishes.
Scale is really important. You don't want too large of a light in a small space or vice versa. How can we help our customers find the appropriate light?
Well, this is where the expertise at Wabash Electric comes in handy. They are going to be working with your detailed set of blueprints, and we're going to be taking into consideration height of the ceiling, space in the room, maybe existing furniture pieces, and we're going to be able to scale those fixtures so that they're going to work properly in your space.
Well, they have so many beautiful selections. I love the different types of bulbs. We have glass, we have frosted glass, and I know that they do other things here as well for our homes.
Yeah, it's just not lighting. You've got your exhaust fans, you've got your door chimes, you maybe garage lights of some type. They also work with mirror mates for bathroom mirrors, hardware for our bath hardware like towel bars and things of that nature, and also lighting controls.
Now, LED lighting is so important. I think Lonnie has some information for us on LEDs.
As we talk about the history of electricity, of course, Indiana has a big part in that.
Sure does.
Whether that be Wabash being the first lit city or Fort Wayne having the first lit baseball diamond, the history of electricity comes through our state. And if we're talking about where electricity is today, we can't do that without talking about one of these right here, Lonnie.
You're right, Izzy. This looks like just a normal incandescent light bulb, but it really isn't. It has changed drastically over the last 5 or 6 years, really.
Then we're talking about LEDs here, light emitting diodes, and that is the new technology that is saving lots of money today.
Light emitting diodes. So is that a diode that emits light?
I think that's exactly what I just said.
These are changing a lot of things. You're right,
Yeah.
and we're putting them in floodlights. We're putting them outside. We're putting them inside in can lights, in just regular lamps, et cetera, et cetera. They're saving a lot of money, and the price is coming down to where they're very affordable.
Yeah. And how much might it cost to put these into a house today?
Here at Wabash Electric, they informed me that about 25% of the customers now are really looking towards changing their whole homes or wiring them for LED lights, total LED lights. And the cost is about $2,000 to do that, and the repayment is about 2 years.
And that's where we see the money savings there, that if you will actually invest in this technology, it pays itself off very quickly.
It pays to understand the lights because there's all kinds of things like lumens and soft versus blue light, all kinds of terms that are associated with the LED bulbs. So come on in to Granite Ridge Builders or Wabash Electric, and we'd be glad to talk to you about LED technology and how it's going to save you some money.
Exterior lighting serves multiple purposes. A couple of those are safety and decorative.
Also, too, we have seasonal lighting. We have lighting that is highlighting our landscaping. There's many different functions that lighting will provide for exterior.
So exterior features, for example, are kind of what we see behind us. These could be what we call garage door carriage lights, something that hangs on each side of the garage door. They could be something by your front door.
Correct?
Something by your patio door.
Absolutely. Most of the times our door openings are going to be lit by code, but how you light it is really, this is, where we kind of decide what we need to do. A lot of times people are getting away from using the decorative lights. We're using more functional, more architectural lights, like the recessed can lights. So a lot of times when you go and you pass an exterior, you're seeing those on the garage, maybe in return soffits, highlighting architectural features.
Another area that we need an exterior light, typically in a subdivision, you're going to need that yard light or light post.
Absolutely. That can be kind of an important thing. Number one, it could be a requirement. Number two, maybe you've got a big brick pedestal and you're putting a statement piece, something a little larger on the top. But a lot of times it's just a greeting light to come on with a dusk to dawn. It's turning into fall and you forgot to turn the lights on. It's a friendly light there to greet you when you come home. It could also be something that's set up on a motion sensor light.
Now we're doing a lot of covered rear patios or porches, and right now we're standing under some of our paddle fans, and many people are choosing a paddle fan for that area.
Yeah, there are quite a few paddle fans that are rated for exterior usage. So that is an important thing to think about because you do want the parts and pieces to be able to work in our weather here in this area. Whether you decide to add a light fixture or not to it, maybe something that you want to decide. You could also be adding a series of recessed can lights in conjunction with a paddle fan.
And when we talk to our customers, we do talk about exterior outlets because that is important. We typically have about 3 on the outside of a home, but some people may have special needs when it comes to Christmas time.
Yeah, and you know, it does come in handy when you're starting to think about where you're going to plug something in, how those cords are going to be run across your porch or patio. So for that reason, a lot of times people want to add maybe an extra receptacle on maybe both sides of the door, or maybe you're adding them in the soffits so you can you know, do that Christmas vacation light thing going
It's a good idea.
on in your roof line.
Good idea. Now back to the paddle fans. Again, we're standing under a few of these. When it comes to the inside, we're doing a lot of paddle fans or ceiling fans in great rooms and bedrooms. But I know you have a big tip because I see a lot of different styles. Some have 3 fan blades, some have 5, and you have a special tip.
I do have a special tip. More blades doesn't necessarily mean more airflow. It really has to do with the pitch of the blades and also, again, kind of scaling the size of the fan to the room that you're speaking of. So you may find a fan blade here with only 3 blades. And in most cases, it's probably working harder than a 5-bladed fan.
And I have a tip as well. Ceiling fans actually cool people, they don't cool rooms. So if you leave the room and you leave your ceiling fan on for a couple hours, it's really doing no good.
Turn that thing off.
Electricity inside the home, of course, affects a lot of things, technology being one of them. And so today we want to talk with you again about the different ideas we can use technology inside our house, inside our kitchen as well.
Well, you can't talk about lighting without really talking about how you're going to control your lighting. Our lighting devices are a very important part of the lighting package. We're all familiar with toggle switches, a bank of toggle switches that you know, flank most of our walls. But nowadays you can refer to some of the more high-tech devices that are more visually pleasing, offer a variety of different colors, and also perform a lot of different functions.
I really like the idea of the motion sensor inside the house as well, whether that be for a bathroom, a pantry, or even you were saying again with some of these better looking ones, you've got some different kind of motion detectors there.
You do. Some are just as easy as waving your hand over a device to turn something on or off. Other things may be something simple like a child's walk-in closet or maybe your walk-in closet that just works by motion sensor just to clearly walk in, lights are on, walk off, lights go off.
And when we think about lighting inside the kitchen, of course, it was probably all candle lit at one time. And now we've got as much as videos, your smartphones, your smart pads being used inside the kitchen, whether it's taking an actual cooking class in your kitchen or if it's just using recipes off of those devices. So again, the electricity inside the kitchen is an integral part. So now we see it done in an even nicer way here where it's all tidied and up underneath the countertops.
Yeah, and that's pretty critical because we have so many things going on in our kitchens. Like you mentioned, we may have just invested in a beautiful backsplash that we don't really want to litter with a bunch of receptacle covers, switch plates, you know, on and on. So the new Legrand system here allows us to incorporate music, iPad docking stations, lighting, all clean right up underneath the upper cabinet.
We want to make sure that electricity and lighting especially is done very well inside the home, especially in our kitchens. So this is some of the great opportunities and stylish ways to present it to make sure your kitchen is looking top-notch.
We're talking today a lot about lights, electricity. One thing about Granite Ridge is we are the professionals at customizing those little details that can make a house a home for you. And one big thing with that is lighting, right?
It is, and if you just look around your home, you can find a lot of little architectural areas that you could choose to light.
You know, one big thing right now is in the kitchen with lighting. A lot of people think about the under cabinet lighting, which is important,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of other places you could do that, isn't it?
Absolutely. You may have above the cabinets where you're wanting to light. You know, we're all used to under cabinet lighting, but what about a kick plate? You know, this is a kind of a hidden area that a lot of people aren't used to lighting. But it can be a really great way to add a little bit of light.
I've had a lot of customers who do the kick plating in the kitchen, but we're also seeing more people doing the kick plating actually in the bathrooms. That way, if you get up in the middle of the night, you don't need to kind of struggle around trying to find that light switch. You have just a really small white dimmer light that can show you the way in, and you're no longer stubbing your toe on the bed, and then you're screaming the entire way in there.
Yeah, and if it's an LED light source, it's going to be energy efficient. It's going to be a small enough fixture that you can use. So, you know, it's a win-win situation.
Now, a quick stud tip that you can do, because everyone has a budget for their home, and it's really easy to find these $50, $100 things that next thing you know, you're adding a lot to your house and maybe going over your budget. But here's a quick thing that you can do. For roughly $30 to $45, you install an electrical outlet above your cabinets, right?
Absolutely. You know, just being there during that electrical walkthrough portion where you can have the electrician run the appropriate wire in a switch, whether it be in a niche or under a kick plate or underneath the cabinet. It's just an easy way to prepare for the future.
Then when you're ready, you can go in there, you can put your own rope light, you can tuck it underneath the crown molding, and then it's already tied to your light switch. So now you have either under or over cabinet lighting when you're ready to do it. Now, Jen, the one thing that I do like about Wabash Electric, and there's a lot, but they have a lot of neat specialty things in here. Do you mind if we go take a look at some of those?
Let's go take a look. Oh, Tony,
Yeah.
we're ready.
Oh, sorry about that. You know, one very cool thing about building your own home or looking at your house is really making it your own, making it that one thing in there that just says, you know what, this is my house. A lot of people used to do this with artwork, but now we're seeing them do it more with their lighting.
Lighting is so unique. Each piece tells a story. Each piece kind of sets the pace for how you're going to portray your home.
A lot of people are doing this either in their kitchens, but I am seeing a few more people doing it actually in their foyers for when people are walking in.
We're doing foyers or even a master bedroom suite.
You know, there's so many different things that you can do when it comes to lighting. The nice thing is nothing is out of style now. So you actually can go a little bit more wild, a little more bold in certain areas. And you can also do some of that with some of these specialty lighting as well, correct?
Specialty lighting, it's always fun to try to use lighting in new and unique ways.
One thing that we're seeing a lot with right now is tray ceilings. They're doing that floating crown molding around the bottom of it, tucking that rope lighting in. But with the new LED lights, they can actually do a lot of different colors in there, can't they?
We can create a soft blue or a golden hue. So yeah, colors of the rainbow.
Can you also have it change like almost on a weekly basis?
You could change it on a weekly basis. You could set a pattern to the light. You can do a lot of different
So
things.
I could do like a green light at Christmas and a purple light at Easter and an orange light.
Yeah, Tony, we'll let you do that in your home. Yeah.
The other cool thing that's going on right now is they're doing some nice things with countertops where they're almost an incandescent or a see-through countertop.
Yeah.
And you can do some fun stuff with lights with that, right?
We do, and we are. There are a few natural pieces as well as some of the new quartz options now that do allow light to kind of penetrate the surface, which how awesome would it be just to walk into a bathroom and have a lit countertop?
That's the fun thing about where we're living now and what's going on now, is there is so many different options for you. If you've often thought about, hey, could we do this or could we do that? Just come on into Granite Ridge Builders or Wabash Electric and ask them, is this a possibility? We would love to talk to you about all those different options. And I'm going to come over here and take a look at some more of this stuff.
Let's go check this out.
For many people, the idea of selecting all the lights for their home can be very overwhelming. They actually get very nervous when they walk into a beautiful showroom like we've got here at Wabash and start to think about all the choices they have to make. But we tell people, don't worry about it, because when you're working with Granite Ridge, you're going to have a selections coordinator that's going to help you choose all these things. They're going to help hold your hand through the whole process and make it much easier than you could ever believe. But secondly, whenever you're taking on a huge project, what do you have to do? It's kind of like eating an elephant. You eat it one bite at a time. So when people are taking that first bite, often it's going to be the lights over the island.
It is. The lights over the island are a lot of times the thing that people are really excited about. That's what they've been looking at and planning ever since they started the design process. So what we try to do is when they come in, we try to get a little bit of idea of the look that they're going for their home. Are you trying to maybe go a particular style? And then what we do is we take that and run with it.
So what are the styles that you're seeing most today?
Styles are going to run across the board because just like people, everybody's kind of individual on what they want and what they want their house to look like. But in today's market, we're seeing a lot of different things from the restoration look. We're seeing cottage, we're seeing transitional. Really, each piece can be very unique and really set the pace for the home.
So once you get that first big bite out of the way, we tell you to really trust the process here. You've got a selections coordinator, you've got professionals here to make the job easy. So come on in, we're going to get you started, and lighting is going to be a breeze.
Oh, Tony, you better watch out. It's the outside. Give me a big well on my chest.
Man.
Don't worry about it, I've got icy hot for you. You'll be fine.
Man.
Okay, guys, we've been talking a lot about electricity. We've been talking a lot about how it all happens and what happens in the home. But do you know the first 4 electric appliances?
Cell phone.
No, not even close.
Okay.
Really, it was in the late 1800s when they started coming out with things and appliances for the home. One of the first ones was the sewing machine. They always made their own clothes and they didn't have a lot of the luxury, so the sewing machine, also the fan. Those fans that they'd actually have fixed in the house, just a couple blades in there. They didn't have those guards on there or anything for safety reasons. The kettle, so that you could make your teas and your coffees and everything along those lines. And the last one, the fourth, is actually a toaster to make it all happen. And now the world's so much different.
Well, look at all the appliances besides just your normal ones in the kitchen itself. We now do a coffee machine. You have your blenders, you have your mixers, you have all these other kind of appliances that just really eat up electricity.
With all that, that's why we have so many more outlets. There are 10 outlets just in this room, a USB outlet as well, and we're even starting to put them in the pantries now.
Yeah, guys, we were out at Wabash Electric. We saw all these incredible options that we have now for our home as it relates to lighting and the fixtures, etc. Think about all the power it takes to power these new homes that we're building.
And you guys know we spend between an average American family spends $150 to $200 per month on their electricity use, and it's only getting more. So it is a pretty important subject. I think it was a great show today. I hope the audience found it fantastic. Elizabeth, would you close for us?
Sure was. If you'd like to know more about who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do so well, please pick up the phone and give us a call, visit our website, or better yet, come in the front door. We'd love to talk to you.
Hey guys, we got all those lights that we got to go back and do those on the outside of the house.
Let's do a baseball game. Let's play
some baseball.
Actually, I'm just going to check out the electricity and turn on the TV and watch the game.
And so that first bite for many people is going to be the lighting over their island. Right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking of something else.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Try it again. I'm sorry. I will be ready.
In Espanol this time. Okay. So one of the first bites that most people do is going to be picking out the lights over their
Over the island.
island.
Yes. I'm like, really? This is where I come in?
So once you get that first solution, it's really the first step in, that was horrible. I can't figure out how to go for that. So to close it up, we'll say, so once that first heavy task is done, from there, the rest of it is all downhill, right?
The rest of it, remember, you're going to do more bites. Remember, we go back to the elephant again.